The Rapture is up next on God's prophetic timetable, stealing the spotlight as the main event. The Rapture can swoop in at any given moment. Believe it or not, only the enduring grace and mercy of God are holding back the curtains from rising. Now, here's the intriguing part. While there may not be specific signs pointing directly to the rapture, there is a significant clue that suggests its proximity. We're talking about the preparations underway for the construction of the next Jewish temple on the sacred Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Make sure to stick around until the very end of this video, as we have an astonishing revelation to share about the third temple that will leave you speechless. Once upon a time, there were two temples that held immense significance for ancient Israel. These sacred places were not just places of worship, but also symbols of national identity. Back in the day, when the Israelite kingdom was just getting started, the Ark of the Covenant would go on a wild journey, hopping from one holy hangout to another, like Shechem and Shiloh. But when King David conquered Jerusalem, he had a light bulb moment and decided to bring the Ark to the city, bringing together Israel's religious symbol, the monarchy, and the city itself. Mount Moriah, also known as the Temple Mount, was the chosen spot for a future temple, because rumor had it that Abraham once built an altar there to sacrifice his son Isaac. The first temple was built during the reign of Solomon, David's offspring, and was finished up in 957 BC. While other holy spots still had their religious gigs going on, King Josiah later put the kibosh on them, making the Temple of Jerusalem the one and only place to sacrifice in the kingdom of Judah. Now, the first temple wasn't a humongous structure, but it had a courtyard that was roomy as can be. It faced the sunrise and had three rooms: the porch, the holy place, and the Holy of Holies, where the Ark resided. Unfortunately, the first temple had a rough go of it and got wrecked by Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylonia. He swiped the temple treasures and eventually demolished the whole structure to pieces. This event, along with the Jews getting shipped off to Babylonia, was seen as the fulfillment of prophecy and gave Judaic religious beliefs a boost. In 538 BC, Cyrus II of Persia gave the exiled Jews the green light to head back to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. The second temple was finished up in 515 BC, but we don't have a detailed blueprint, unfortunately. It was a more modest version of the original and didn't have all the fancy ritual stuff like the Ark. But fear not, rituals were still going strong, thanks to organized families of priests and Levites. Throughout the existence, the temple had its ups and downs. It got looted by Antiochus IV Epiphanes, which led to the Hasmonean revolt, and the temple getting back in tip-top shape. The Romans also had their fair share of encounters with the temple, with Pompey even strolling into the Holy of Holies and Crassus swiping the temple's treasures. Herod the Great was the big shot behind the rebuilding of the Second Temple, a project that took a whopping 46 years. The Temple Mount area got a makeover, and the temple itself was raised up, expanded, and decked out with fancy white stone. It became the ultimate hangout spot, with merchants and money changers setting up shop. The temple had all sorts of courts, like the court of women and the court of priests, which had the sacrificial altar and a fancy fountain for washing up. The sanctuary building had a grand entrance hall that led to the Holy of Holies. The Herodian temple became the heart and soul of Israelite life, not just for religious rituals, but also as a place to keep sacred texts and a meeting spot for the Sanhedrin, the top Jewish court during the Roman era. Sadly, the temple's destruction in AD 70 marked the end of the rebellion against Rome. Today, only a piece of the Second Temple remains, the Western Wall, also known as the Wailing Wall. It's a big deal for Jewish hopes and dreams and continues to be a hotspot for pilgrims, even though it's part of the wall surrounding the Muslim Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It came back under Jewish control in 1967. Talk about a twist of fate. But hold on tight, because the battle for a third temple is heating up, and this time it's the real deal. According to God's prophetic word, when the Antichrist takes the reign, a Jewish temple should be standing tall. While Christians believe that Jesus Christ has already come and will return on Judgment Day, the Jewish community holds a different perspective. But guess what? This question isn't just for the Jewish folks, but for all believers in Yeshua. Will the next temple, known as the third temple, be Ezekiel's temple when the divine presence will reside once again? Or will some other presence take its place in another temple? According to scripture, The temple will be rebuilt smack in the middle of the tribulation. In Thessalonians 4:2, Paul foresaw a day when the Antichrist would sit as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Jesus himself mentioned the restored temple and its desecration in the Olivet Discourse. He said, "When you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel, the prophet, standing in the holy place, then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, for then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been seen since the beginning of the world until this time. No, nor ever shall be. But hoard your horses." Rebuilding the temple isn't the only prophecy yet to be fulfilled regarding Israel. The Jewish nation hasn't fully occupied the Promised Land. If they had, they would control not only present-day Israel, Lebanon, and the West Bank of Jordan, but also substantial portions of Syria, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. Now, here's an interesting tidbit. Rabbi Nachman Kahain, a prominent rabbi in Jerusalem, believes that a temple will be constructed on the Temple Mount during his lifetime. He claims that everything is ready to go, and they could start building today. Rabbi Kahain trained the leaders spearheading the rebuilding effort. In fact, his students founded the Temple Institute back in 1987, right in the Jewish quarter of Jerusalem's Old City. This institute has trained individuals for temple service and collected all the necessary implements, including the table of showbread, altar of incense, and a golden menorah. The initial menorah was created to fill a divine command in Exodus 25. As the temples were built, a new menorah was made for each. During the second temple, Antiochus IV Ephanes of the Seleucid Empire stole the menorah in 169 BCE after the Maccabean revolt. A new one was put in place, which remained until the temple's ultimate destruction by the Romans in 70 CE. The current menorah, displayed near the Western Wall Plaza in Jerusalem, is covered in a whopping 95 pounds of pure gold and is reportedly worth $2 million. Some believe that the original menorah, a 7-branched candelabra, was taken to Rome after the Second Temple's destruction. There seems to be evidence of this on the Ark of Titus in Rome. However, the Temple Institute has painstakingly reconstructed it. They also claim to know the location of the Ark of the Covenant, last seen in Solomon's Temple. 2 rabbis and a Jewish activist, all working towards building the Third Temple, claim to have been to this location. Now, here's the twist. Even though the Temple Mount is the holiest site in Judaism, Jewish people aren't allowed to pray there or gather in large groups. The Muslim Waqf controls it, and Israel granted them control as a goodwill gesture after the city's reunification in 1967. Rabbi Glick is rallying Jewish people to unite and make every effort to visit this sacred location, focusing on rebuilding the temple. He has been leading the Temple Institute's preparation effort for several years. Even a cornerstone has been kept ready for when construction begins. This cornerstone has been consecrated with water from the biblical pool of Siloam and cut with diamonds. Now time for the shocking yet bitter truth. One thing lies between the construction of the Third Temple and the Jewish people, and that, my friends, is the gold-domed Muslim Dome of the Rock that currently occupies the Temple Mount. It's not a mosque, but it's an Islamic building. Some suggest that a Jewish temple could coexist alongside it, sharing the Temple Mount. However, many leaders in the rebuilding movement believe that the Dome of the Rock must be removed. When asked how they plan to make that happen, they simply say they'll leave the details to the Messiah. But rest assured, they'll be ready to start construction as soon as he clears the way. The arrival of the Messiah is something that cannot be controlled and is sure to happen. Exciting times lie ahead, my friend. The stage is set and the anticipation is building.